My name is Average Joe, and I'm a proud geek with expertise in movies, superheroes, and animation.
And my name is Pixel Patch. I'm a joyful geek with an expertise in gaming, both tabletop and video.
Our mission is to bring nerd culture to the masses.
And by sticking it all under the microscope.
Welcome to the Bat Jar Podcast.
Movies, TV, mega comic books, or is that graphic novels, cartoons, groups, that's animation, Disney, Star Wars, Dragon Ball Z, Pokemon, and Digimon, and Mighty Morphin, Power Rangers, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Yu-Gi-Oh! And Nintendo, Cinematic Universes, Marvel, DC, Justice League, is Batman, Leagues with Superman, Flash, Wonder Woman, Avengers, Iron Man, Captain Jack, Loki, Spider-Man, and Hulk and Logan, X-Men, Battlers, Allen, Galaxy, Guardians, Star Trek, Prick, Trick, Card, and Janeway, Nerds and Geeks come gather around and join them in the Big Bad Jar, Average Joe and Pixel Patch, they peek under the microscope.
Hello there, and welcome to the Bat Jar Podcast, where we put nerd culture under the microscope.
Hey everyone, it's Minty Python, back by immense popular demand. The fans are just going wild. They want to hear like me spew more ignorance and contempt. It's just, yeah, so they spoke and we answered. Here I am.
Well, thank you for coming back, our fans. I'm sure appreciate your coming back to the show. Pixel Patch couldn't be here today, so I'm grateful to have you here for this week's conversation. Should be interesting because, as far as I know, you're not familiar with any of the things we're talking about.
Yeah, underscore ignorance. Well, well, maybe some of the things we're going to talk about, but yeah, I'm excited. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me on, Average Joseph.
Oh, you want to use my full name? Okay.
Yeah, Average Joseph.
Well, you know, if I call you a MP for short, does that count?
That works, yeah. MP, yeah.
No, I don't want to do that.
Okay, Minty Python's better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Emphasize the mintiness.
Mm-hmm.
You have minty fresh breath. That's why you're called that.
Negative. I'm drinking a big hot cup of Joe right now.
Oh,
so,
interesting.
Yeah, definitely not minty right now.
Oh, shoot. Well, we always ask people who come back if what they've done lately or recently that's been nerdy or geeky. And you were last on the show, I think, in December about Christmas movies.
Yep.
So it's been a while. So,
yeah.
You know, what's something nerdy or geeky you've been up to?
Jeez. Maybe nothing.
Nothing at all.
I'm continuing to read. Like, I'm reading Catch-22 right now. It's taking me a long time.
What's that?
Catch-22 is it's a classic American novel by Joseph Heller. I believe that's his name.
Well, the guy's got a good name.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. I'm looking really bad right now, but it's kind of it's a bit of a comedy that turns into a tragedy. It's about some American bombers or Air Force pilots serving in the south of Italy during the Second World War. So it's fun to read. I just don't have a lot of time, or I have a lot of time, but I don't prioritize, or I don't know.
So it's about World War II, but it's fun and it's a comedy. That
well,
sounds weird.
It's a comedy insofar as it's absurd. There's a lot of absurd things that happen, and it's kind of where the phrase Catch-22 came from. It was born out of this novel.
Oh.
So. Are you familiar with?
Vaguely. Like, it's one of those things when people say it, I'm like, yeah, totally, I know what you mean. Or I'll say it as if I know what it means, but I actually don't.
So in the context of the novel, it's there's this rule that if one of the pilots is sane enough to ask to be released from duty so he can go home, because at the time, like, the job they're doing is very dangerous. If they're sane enough to not want to fly, then it means they're healthy and they should keep flying. And if they don't want to fly, like if they want to keep flying, it means they're insane. It's hard. I can't explain it right now. I'm making a fool of myself. That's what I was trying to explain.
Yeah, so we edited out the part where we listen to Google tell us what it is, and it sounds like it's kind of like the Kobayashi Maru from Star Trek. It's one of those situations where you can't get out because there's contradictory rules. So,
yep, no, that's the thing. Yeah, all the pilots want to go home. They don't want to fly anymore, but they can't because they're contradictory rules.
All right, well, let's just dive into the news, and we're gonna do something different this week. There were a lot of movie trailers this week, so we're gonna try out a segment called Trailer Trash, where we just basically talk about each of the trailers that came out this week.
Excuse me, Average Joseph. Do I get to trash the trailers?
You can if you really want to.
Oh, boy.
And we're going to try and talk about these things in chronological order, so I'm trying to remember the order they were released. So the first trailer we're going to talk about is Joker.
Okay.
I'm guessing you haven't seen this
I
yet.
haven't seen that one.
All right, so we're going to show you the Joker trailer. Okay, so you have just watched the Joker trailer for the first time.
Yes.
What are your immediate, raw, unfiltered reactions?
Intriguing. Doesn't seem at all life-giving. I don't see myself leaving the theater, feeling refreshed in any way. But yeah, certainly intriguing, and I'm interested to see, are we supposed to feel bad for the Joker after this? I'm generally skeptical of, stories that try to make you feel bad for the bad guys, So
it's interesting. I hadn't thought of it that way.
Yeah.
It certainly is a bit of a presenting itself as a character study.
Yeah.
And I've spoken about this before. The Joker is a character that I think works best without knowing his origin.
Yeah.
And the many times that movies and comics and TV shows have tried addressing the Joker's origin, they all kind of come up with a different explanation because there's really no perfect explanation for the Joker's backstory.
Yeah, I understand. Well, I mean, certainly, I think I'm guessing what we're going to see in the movie is basically what you would fill in with your imagination, right?
Hopefully not.
There can't be anything that profound. Like, it looks like he gets bullied, and that he's probably tormented psychologically, and has some kind of psychological affliction, and just goes insane. He says, life's not a tragedy, or my life's not a tragedy, it's a comedy or something. Like, clearly he's ill, so...
Yeah, I'm hoping that this will be a version of the Joker's origin, but not like a definitive one, because the best Joker stories I've ever been exposed to illustrate the idea that he's so deranged in present day that he doesn't actually even remember what his backstory is.
Oh, wow.
Like, you think of The Dark Knight. He intentionally gives away different origin stories to people based on the mood he's in.
That's true, yeah.
And in the famous comic The Killing Joke, he literally says, if I have to have a past, I'd rather be multiple choice.
Mm-hmm.
So my fear for the Joker movie is that it's going to present like this is the definitive origin for the Joker, and if it's not as, I don't think anything will. I don't. What am I trying to say? I don't think anything they come up with is going to be as great as whatever we can come up with in our own imaginations to describe like how he got to the way he is.
What are you going to do if it's presented as definitive?
Well, then it'll influence my opinion of the movie, and I'll probably end up with a lower back cookie score.
Okay, you're talking like 1 out of 4?
Well, it depends on how definitive it is, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't know. This movie seems like a cash grab. I don't know. Like, do people really care about the Joker's backstory? I don't know. Well, I guess enough to pay to go.
So this isn't a movie you'll go see?
Oh, yeah. No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we'll move on then to the next trailer.
Yeah.
Next trailer I remember coming out in the week was the trailer for The Lion King.
Yes, sir.
And I think I was in our office when the trailer came out. You saw how I reacted to it.
Yes. There were, Can
you describe it for the audience, what my reaction was like?
Kind of deep sighs and, sounded a little teary-eyed. He looked a little teary-eyed and, very emotional, kind of shaken, just emotionally distraught.
So I didn't realize this and you have seen this trailer, right?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah,
I think I watched it twice.
Yeah, I think I made you watch it, if I recall. And what I didn't realize this till afterwards, but the trailer we watched is quite literally like a shot-for-shot remake of the trailer from the animated movie. And the only thing that made me disappointed with this trailer is it gave away a lot of like iconic moments from the original movie, like the three of them walking along that wooden log and they're aging up through it, or them Simba and Nala like playing as adults, or even like the part where they're walking through the elephant graveyard. I was feeling like it was committing the crime a lot of trailers do now, and they revealed too much of what the movie was going to be like. So that was the only thing I could say negatively about it. I thought it looked amazing. The animals looked amazing. They included the Hans Zimmer score, which like just stabs my heart and makes me feel things because I have such an attachment to that movie. And I'm wondering that when it actually does come out, I'll be blinded to the any potential faults of the film because I'll be like under a magic spell of nostalgia for the original movie.
Quite possibly. Yeah. What if they're just presenting the trailer shot for shot with the original, just as a marketing technique to appeal to people's nostalgia for the movie, and it could be totally different. I hope it's not the same movie, like the exact same thing.
Yeah, like the Beauty and the Beast movie was pretty close, but at least there was some extra stuff in there.
Yeah.
To be honest, I wouldn't mind if it was shot for shot because it's a pretty decent movie as it is. So like, there's really not much you can do to improve it. There's some plot elements that I've spoken about before that can be improved upon, but even if it was shot for shot, it's like just to see it all again in the music and the theater experience.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the music, I thought it was good. What I heard in the trailer, Hans Zimmer's pretty good at doing soundtracks. But I was a little disappointed that Scar isn't orange. In this, what is it? Is this still animation or cinema? Like, what is that called with this movie?
I think
it's not live action because those aren't real lions.
People are calling it live action because live action filmmaking techniques are being used to produce the movie.
Oh, so people are wearing green suits and crawling around like lions?
No, not necessarily like that. I mean, like the way that the cameras are being set up and whatnot. Like they're actually like using real cameras.
Oh, they're using cameras?
Stuff. Apparently.
Oh, okay.
And like the articles I've read say that they're using live action filmmaking techniques to make the movie. So I don't know what that means in actuality. Yeah. I don't think there's anyone doing motion capture. I think it's all computer generated animals.
Yeah.
But they're certainly made to look photorealistic as if they are real animals. Yeah. Some people on the internet are like I think one person we were openly said, I just can't get into like these photorealistic animals talking. Like it's
well, because it takes away that I guess the fictional element of it. I don't know.
Okay.
I what's that?
Go ahead.
I that doesn't bother me. The fact that they're live action. I'm doing air quotes right now. But yeah, I wasn't. The trailer didn't affect me very deeply, and I don't think I would pay to see it in theater.
What?
No, right. I would have to be. Someone would have to pay for me to go.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah.
You have a birthday coming up. Maybe that's what I'll get you as a birthday ticket. Or birthday present. Okay, moving on to trailer 3. We got our first look at the new Addams Family movie. I'm guessing you've never seen this trailer.
No, sir. I'm unfamiliar with Addams Family in general.
Okay, so this will be interesting to see how you react to this. Yeah. Now, as somebody who has like no experience with the Addams Family, does this interest you at all?
No, I don't really get it.
It's basically like it was started as a live action TV show in the 60s.
Okay.
And the whole gimmick is that they're basically like these horror themed like these characters that are a big family that are all horror themed, if you will. There was another show on the same time called The Munsters that was basically like, a family of monsters. And so the idea is that like they're like just an ordinary family, but they're all into like kooky, scary stuff, and then stuff that normal people would like they don't like. So part of the comedy always comes from them interacting with like the normal world. So like normal people walk into their house and they're like creeped out by all the scary stuff. And they're like, oh, this is normal around here. Their butler's like a giant Frankenstein kind of guy.
Okay, I would give it a shot. I don't know if I'd see it in theaters, but
okay,
yeah.
The music you hear throughout the trailer is basically like an orchestral instrumental version of the theme song from the 60s TV show.
Okay,
and all the finger snapping, that's part of the show as well.
Oh, interesting.
I watched there was an Addams Family TV show in the 90s called The New Addams Family, and it's pretty funny.
Okay,
and the whole I remember the Christmas episode because they hate Christmas because they're so joyful and happy, but they love Halloween. So like the Halloween episode, they're treating it like it's Christmas.
Oh, I see. Huh. Yeah, I don't know. Sure. Are you excited?
I have some nostalgia for it because of the show I watched, and I like the cast that's attached to it. Like Oscar Isaac is Gomez, and Charlize Theron is Morticia.
Is Oscar Isaac in everything now?
Pretty much.
Yeah. Okay, I thought so.
But they also make a joke about it, which I thought was clever, with the balloon and the killer clown.
Oh, did they do that in the trailer?
Yeah.
Oh, I missed that.
Okay.
Whoops.
It's okay. It's fine.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to what is we'll probably say the last trailer of the week, but we got the first look because Star Wars Celebration's going on right now in Chicago. We got our first look at Star Wars Episode 9.
Yeah, this is where we're gonna trash this trailer.
You really just dislike the trailer? I know you don't like the newer movies, but surely you don't have anything bad to say about this trailer. It's like 2 minutes long.
Oh, I have some bad stuff to say
about the trailer.
Oh yeah.
Okay, let me hear it.
Okay, first of all, what the heck is up with Okay, I know the lightsaber's been around, but I still don't like his lightsaber. How it's like a cross with the sides going out. And what's with Palpatine laughing at the end? To me, that was I was what the heck are you guys even doing?
Well, apparently it's always been the plan to bring Palpatine back.
So who said that?
Kathleen Kennedy, J.J. Abrams, like most of the people involved.
I'm just so fed up with the new Star Wars movies.
I don't get it. What's so bad about Palpatine coming back?
Like, they obviously can't create any original content, so like what's it, Force Awakens or whatever that first one was.
Yeah, episode 7.
It was the exact same as A New Hope, and Joe, I'm just so insulted. Okay. Average Joe, Joseph. Sorry, we're not really talking about the trailer. The trailer, the trailer's fine. Average trailer. But yeah, Palpatine laughing almost seemed a little comedic to me.
Oh man, I thought it was interesting because I've heard like there's an actor who's going to be in this movie named Matt Smith. Most people know him as one of the Doctor Who's.
Okay.
And the big rumor about his character is that he's playing a younger Palpatine. So suggesting that there's like a clone of, because there's lots of Star Wars stories that are like part of the old canon that's now called Star Wars Legends about Palpatine having a clone come. Into existence in the older, like post the original trilogy.
Interesting.
So all that to say, it suggests that Matt Smith is going to be playing that part, like as a young Palpatine.
Yeah. So are you super excited?
I want to see where it goes because I didn't hate The Last Jedi like other people did. I disliked it because of the way it basically laughed at us in terms of like it's like episode 7 set up a lot of questions and built up a lot of mystery around a lot of elements that then in The Last Jedi they were like neener, we got you all excited about this, and it really didn't mean anything. And I know that they're kind of course correcting now by bringing J.J. Abrams back, who did 7 to do 9. And there certainly are lots of little clues about that in the trailer, like suggesting that Kylo Ren's going back to like wearing his mask a lot, and you got Lando in there, and I don't know. I'm hoping it's going to be good. It certainly like got me interested because like you don't really, you just kind of like see a lot of the characters just reminded they all exist and they're all going to be in the movie. So
yeah, I think for me, Average Joe, the 7, 8, and now 9, and then the Solo movie just to me were so disappointing that just seeing the trailer is just a reminder of how disappointing Star Wars has been since when 1980. When did the last one come out?
You can't say the last one. You mean the last of the original trilogy?
The last of the original trilogy.
1983.
Yeah, like that's the last time there was a good Star Wars movie made.
Wow. Okay, I'm not even gonna dignify that nonsense with a response. But what I'm hearing you say is that in the same way that the Lion King trailer got me interested purely based on my attachment to the series.
Yeah.
The trailer for Star Wars Episode 9 basically disinterested you because of your attachment to the franchise.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Like, I would definitely see the Lion King movie before I saw the Star Wars movie. I would actually go out of my way not to see the Star Wars movie.
Really?
I'm not giving them my money anymore.
Your level of protest is that high.
Yeah.
Okay, wow. Well, there you go. And the title of the movie was revealed, The Rise of Skywalker. What do you think that means? Is Luke going to come back from the dead or what?
Yeah, like the names of these movies don't make any sense anymore either. But anyways, yeah, I guess because wait, the girl there, what's her name? The one jumping, Rey. She's not a Skywalker, is she?
We don't know because there's still mystery on who her parents are.
Okay, yes, maybe that's that. Because when I saw that, that's what I thought they were referring to. That she was like a Skywalker or something. Yeah, they need to bring back Darth Vader somehow. Darth Vader is like the best Star Wars character, I think. Not Anakin. Anakin is terrible. Darth Vader is good.
Okay, so we have one of those types of Star Wars fans on the show today, everybody.
What does that mean?
Well, it means that when we talked about Last Jedi, we explained how there's like different types of Star Wars fans that basically like gave up at different points in the and they have a negative association with anything new because of their attachment to whatever they're attached to.
See. Yeah,
it's fine. I think it's a good trailer. I think the way that it does a good job of teasing us by reminding us of like what is to come without actually giving away any of the plot elements. Mm-hmm. The funniest thing I saw about the trailer there's a meme that was created, and it has 2 photos from the Solo movie and then one from this trailer. So there's an exchange of dialogue between the young Lando Calrissian and the young Han Solo, where it's right after Han has won the Millennium Falcon from Lando, and you see Lando and it says, "I'll get my ship back one day," and then Han says, "Over my dead body," and then it cuts to the shot from this trailer where Lando's in the Falcon. He's like laughing.
That's so funny. Yeah.
Because spoiler alert, Han Solo died.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's the best thing that
Harrison Ford didn't want to damage his career by continuing.
Oh please,
being in those
he
movies.
just didn't want to be in them. He's not a anyway. All that to say, those are all the trailers that came out this week. So are you excited for Joker, Addams Family, Lion King, or Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker?
I think of those 4, Addams Family, I'm indifferent. The Joker, I'd probably watch at home, I think. Maybe if someone wanted to watch it with me. The Lion King, I think, is probably the one I'd be the most excited about. And I think you know what I think about the Star Wars one.
Well, I'll see all of them except the Addams Family for sure. Addams Family, that'll really come down to if somebody else really wants to see it or not.
Fair enough.
That'd be a streaming show for me, or streaming movie.
Yeah, it's hard to pay. What is it, like $20 now to go to the movies?
It's not $20 to go to the movies. It's like $12.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, moving right along. Today we're going to be talking about Hellboy, who I believe you've never been experienced or have never experienced before.
No. I remember being a kid and seeing that some movie came out called Hellboy, and that's my memory of Hellboy. I remember seeing one of the big banners at the movie theater.
Did it look like this?
I think it looked more like this one.
Okay, so I'm sure I have Hellboy's a comic book character that's been in 2 movies previously, and I have them both on DVD, so I'm showing them off here to Minty Python, and he pointed towards the case for the second movie, which would imply you saw this around 2008, because that's when that movie came out.
2008, yeah, 11 years ago now. Yeah, sounds about right.
Does that line up for you?
Yeah.
Well, it makes sense because I actually was first exposed to Hellboy through the second movie. When the first movie came out, I like you saw a poster for it, and it didn't really get my attention at all because I'd never heard of the comic, and I don't know, I just wasn't into. It looked more like a kind of like a monster movie or like a horror movie almost because all the characters look kind of creepy. So when the first one came out, it totally like missed my radar. But ironically, when the second one came out, my mom and my brothers went to go see it. And she came home. My mom was she's like, "Oh, it was such a fun movie. There's a scene where they get drunk and sing Barry Manilow music." And,
oh, wow.
And I was like, what is this movie that my mom is like raving about? And at this point, I'd like learned more about who Hellboy was and that he was indeed a comic book character. So at the recommendation of my mom, of all people, I went and saw Hellboy 2, which is called The Golden Army.
You're in love. Have a beer.
Oh, my body's a temple.
Well, now it's an amusement park.
No. The glandular balance.
Just shut up and drink it, would you? What track?
8.
Can't smile without you.
I know.
Yep, I'm gonna need a beer too.
Well, see, I love this song. And I can't smile. Or cry. I think I have no tear ducts.
I wish Father were here. He'd know what to tell you. Us?
And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really fun movie, and obviously as time went on, I went to check out the first movie to kind of like get the backstory a bit more. And then they've also done 2 animated direct-to-video movies that I watched both of those. But I've never really gotten into the Hellboy comics, so my exposure and interest in the character has been his appearances outside of comic books. And this actually leads to a funny story I have about meeting the creator of Hellboy. So,
oh, interesting.
Yeah, so Hellboy was created by a guy named Mike Mignola, and he was a guest at, not Ottawa Comic-Con, but Fan Expo 2013 in Toronto. So this is 6 years ago. And at that point, I had seen the second movie, and I think at that point I'd probably seen the first movie too. So I was familiar with the movies, and I was kind of like, I hate to say this, but I was kind of like killing time between other things I was doing. And I knew he was going to be there, so I brought my DVD with me to like see when maybe he'll sign it. And I walk up to his table, and I'm thinking, okay, like what can I do to like ask this guy a question so it's not an awkward interaction of him just like signing something and moving along. So, so one of the elements that is in the movies is that Hellboy likes cats. He where he lives, there's a bunch of cats as his pets, and I'm a cat person, so I thought, oh, maybe I'll ask that question about how he decided to make Hellboy a cat person. So I hand him the DVD, like I am to you right now, and you can see that he autographed it there.
Okay, yeah, I see that. Yeah, very nice.
And so I ask him my question about the cats, and he responds by saying, oh, that's something they made up for the movies.
Oh,
so
that's funny.
I felt very embarrassed because I was basically showing my hand to this guy to show that I actually haven't read any of your work. I've just watched the movie, and I felt kind of embarrassed about that. And so then I had like a backup question that wasn't about Hellboy that I asked him because I knew about something else he'd been involved with because I was just too embarrassed to continue.
That's not something to be really embarrassed with. You don't need to read the comic. Like, there's a billion comic books. You can't read them all. But I find it interesting, Average Joe, that you're a cat person. So am I. But anyways.
High five for that.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know why you'd be embarrassed about that.
Well, it's just
Did he laugh at you?
He just kind of like shrugged it off as if to say like, oh, this guy doesn't actually care.
Oh, well, I mean, you can't care about everything.
I know, but the point is, like, I was meeting him, and I'm like trying to say, oh, I'm a fan of your work, and then I ask him a question about something that isn't from his work, so I'm like showing my hand by being like, actually, I have never read anything you've written.
Oh, okay. Well, whatever.
Anyway, that's my story.
This seems like it looks like demonic. This movie.
Well, I mean,
is there elements of that?
Well, basically, in the story of Hellboy, he is the son of a demon.
Okay, and who's his mom? Or
a human. So
a human.
You find out through the comics and the different movies that in like the 1500s, this woman was seduced by a demon and was dragged down to hell and gave birth to this half demon child.
Oh wow!
So I thought, because again, like I'm so unfamiliar with his backstory, I thought he was actually like the son of Satan.
Okay.
But it turns out he isn't. He's like the son of some demon who's not like named explicitly.
So is he a good guy?
Yeah, and that's the thing. So he's another one of these characters who, you know, he takes on the visage of the evil, but he is indeed a good person himself. So he first appeared in Dime Press number 4 in March 1993.
Oh, I don't know what that is.
Dime Press is a comic book.
Oh, okay.
He's published by a company called Dark Horse Comics. So you've definitely never heard of them because the only comic book companies most people know about are DC Comics and Marvel Comics. Yep. But there's obviously lots of like indie companies that basically like have a much smaller staple of comic books that they publish. One of the more famous of the smaller ones is called Dark Horse Comics, and they're the ones who publish Hellboy. So he first appeared on the cover of Dime Press number 4, but then he had his first full appearance in San Diego Comic-Con Comics number 2 in August 1993. And then he had his first full appearance with his own little world in Next Men 21 in December 1993. So imagine like in March he's on the cover of something. In August he's appeared for the first time in an issue as a character. And then in December he's in like his first actual story in his world. And like I said, he was created by a guy named Mike Mignola. So in comic books, in American comic books, there's writers and there's artists. There's not as many people who do both, but Mike Mignola is one of those people. So he is the writer and artist of the Hellboy comics. He's never really had that long a run, even though he first appeared in 1993. It seems like most of his comics are kind of like mini-series, or I think they call it a maxi series when it goes for like 12 issues or instead of 6.
Okay.
So he's had some popularity to the point where they, went ahead and made some movies about him. The first movies were made by a director named Guillermo del Toro. Have you heard of him before?
I don't want to say yes. No.
Okay. Well, he's a director who is known for movies like Pan's Labyrinth and Pacific Rim, and
I've seen Pacific Rim.
Yeah, so he's a very creative, very people would call him a visionary director because he spends a lot of time investing in like building the world, and he does a lot of movies with really good creature effects. Okay. So you actually see a lot of weird designs, and he's kind of like Tim Burton in the sense that you feel like you're in another world with his movies, and you get the sense that he's one of those directors that really has his hand on like the whole process of the filmmaking, not just filming the scenes. So he was a good fit for the Hellboy universe, and The first two movies, they were moderate successes financially, and they performed, I guess you could say, okay with critics. To kind of explain a bit of the story for you as we talk about the new movie, is that in the world of Hellboy, essentially like magic and sorcery and supernatural stuff is real. So Hellboy works for an organization called the Bureau for Paranormal Research and Defense, or the BRPD. Imagine like Men in Black. Mm-hmm. So Men in Black is like the secret spy organization that essentially tries to prevent things from happening that involve aliens, and they keep it all a secret from the general public. Mm-hmm. So we live our ordinary lives without thinking nothing's special, but then in the shadows, all this stuff is going on. Hellboy stories are a lot like that because the BRPD also operates in secret, and they essentially work to prevent supernatural things from happening. So there's a lot of stories of Hellboy that involve folklore and monsters and creatures. And the first movie from 2004, which is now 15 years ago, essentially recounts his origin story and it adapts one of the early comic book stories for the character. Whereas the second film, The Golden Army, is an original story that the director of the first two movies, Guillermo del Toro, basically wrote himself with some vision from the creator of the comics. Okay. So the second film is not based on any Hellboy comics, and I kind of like that film better. So I don't know what that says. That like I guess I like the Hellboy characters, but I don't like the stories that are rooted from the comics as much as the original ones. So,
well, that's totally fair. Does he ride a motorcycle?
Sometimes
he looks like a biker dude.
Sometimes when the situation calls for it, he'll ride a motorcycle.
Okay.
But yeah, so the idea is that he is the son of a demon, and of course he's a giant, he's red, he shaves off his horns because he doesn't want to look like a demon. So
yeah, well, he's pretty ugly dude by the picture here, but you can still see the stubs of his horns.
Yeah, well, you can't like take them off entirely, so it's like a kind of like regular thing for him to like grind them back and to like file them down.
Does he wear a hat?
No.
Seems like that'd be the best way to cover him up.
Wow. Maybe you should tell the writer that.
Yeah, maybe I will.
But it's a fun world to kind of get invested in, because if you like kind of like if you ever see like the TV show Supernatural, it's a lot like that, where there's all kinds of witches and magic and monsters, and again they're like this secret spy organization that deals with all these threats.
Yeah. So this is like kind of Harry Potter, but for people who are bikers, you know.
I guess you could say that. There's no schooling involved.
Okay.
But it's that kind of world, I guess, where all that kind of stuff exists. Yeah. And you'll notice very prominently on his belt here, there's a rosary, because essentially he's raised Catholic.
Oh. Wait, I'm interested. So he's a demon, but there's a rosary touching him, and that doesn't burn him or anything, or?
Yeah, I'm not sure how that works.
And raised Catholic, so he's red and he has horns, but he goes to school and stuff.
Well, no, he was privately tutored by his adoptive father.
So, his adoptive father is just totally chill with
because he works for the BRPD. That's
I see. Okay.
So in the story of Hellboy, he's like summoned to Earth during World War II by the Nazis, because they want to in this universe they're trying to find an edge.
It always goes back to the Nazis. Eh?
Yeah. And so this little baby demon child comes out of the portal, and everyone wants to kill it because it's a demon, and he's like. His adoptive
understandable.
Yeah, so his adoptive father says I believe there's potential in this child to be something other than a monster.
Okay.
So he's raised in an environment where he's provided with some love and care, but he's trained to be a fighter and a warrior, and he basically grows up and becomes this paranormal investigator, if you will. So that's certainly a lot of the appeal of the character for someone like myself, is that he's somebody who is totally rejecting his nature, and he's saying, yeah, I look like this, and where I come from suggests that I should behave in this way, but I'm choosing to be different. I'm choosing to rise above my origins to be something better.
What happens when he dies? Does he go to hell?
He hasn't died yet, so I'm not sure what happens there.
Can he die?
Oh yeah, I'm sure he can, because he's almost nearly died in a couple of the movies.
Huh.
So, having given that albeit very brief description of the Hellboy universe, does it ever sound like something you'd want to watch or pay attention to?
Yeah, it's interesting. Again, I don't know if I'd go to a theater to see it, but
Takes a lot for you to get to a theater.
It does, yeah. I can't remember the last time I was in a theater, Average Joe. It may have been with you, to be honest.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, interesting. I wouldn't. I mean, my immediate reaction is I'm a little skeptical. But yeah.
Well, so the second
certainly looks better than Star Wars.
Oh, wow. So the second film ended on a cliffhanger, and audiences were dying for more, but it didn't perform, I guess, financially to what they were hoping it would do.
Okay.
So it was kind of left in limbo for many years, as if they were actually going to do another one or not, like to make it a trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2014, the producers approached Guillermo del Toro again and said, "Look, we want to do another one. Mike Mignola, the creator of the comics, is going to write a story. Will you come on and be a producer for this one?" Because I don't know if he was unavailable to be a director or they just didn't want him as the director again, but they basically said, will you come back and be a producer for this one? And Guillermo del Toro didn't want to work on a movie where he didn't write the script, because that's the kind of director he is. He's one of those writer-director types that really likes to be involved in the story, writing the story for the movies he directs. So he counter-offered that, said, "I'll do it, but you have to let me be the writer for it." And I guess the people making this new Hellboy movie were like, "Nope, we don't want you to be the writer." So he backed out, and because Guillermo backed down, basically all the actors that had been involved with the movies backed down. And the biggest loss there is with Ron Perlman, the actor
of course,
who plays Hellboy. He is well regarded among fans as being an excellent interpretation of the character. And when we talked about the best performances in superhero movies, we mentioned him as a good A-B performance, meaning it's just a naturally good acting performance, but then he also represents the character very well. So
it's a totally different cast for this new one.
Yeah. So when Guillermo said no, basically everyone who had been involved previously said no, and they could have gone like the Batman Forever route, where making it kind of like a sequel and just changing some of the actors and just sort of trucking along.
Mm-hmm.
But the decision was made, all right, we're going to just do a whole new version. Having said that, do you think it's worthwhile rebooting a movie that only had a previous installment 11 years ago?
Man, all they do is reboots now. So yeah, why not? Why the heck not?
Okay. If you had control over how much time you have to wait before retelling a story, do you have like a certain number of years?
That's a good question. Because there's always been the example I think of is like, when do they remake the Lord of the Rings movies? And I think it's too soon for that. And those are almost 20 years ago. So yeah, maybe 11 years is too short, So I don't know if I have a rule. You
just have a feeling, I suppose.
Yeah, it depends on, again, how attached I am.
Because it's been
with the Spider-Man movies, they just keep remaking.
Yeah, but there's business reasons for those things happening.
Yeah, well, like there's been
ownership of the
3
character.
different Spider-Mans in the last 2 years or something.
Well,
that's an exaggeration.
But
Tobey Maguire is Spider-Man. But anyways,
that is not true. He is a Spider-Man, but he's not definitively Spider-Man.
Yeah, I don't know. 11 years does seem short. But they didn't have a choice, right?
Well, they had every choice in the world. Unlike the stuff with Spider-Man where there's legal things going on with the ownership of the character's film rights, there's no reason they didn't have to make another Hellboy movie right now. If they were
they didn't have to make any other movie.
No, but what I'm trying to say...
They didn't have to make another Star Wars movie.
No, what I'm trying to say is that if they were going to do another Hellboy movie, they should have continued the story that was presented in the other ones, because even though it's now 15 years since the first Hellboy came out, it's, in my opinion, too soon to restart the story, because there's still a lot of people, again, like you pointed this out, or somebody pointed this out with like even The Lion King, that like a lot of the actors who were involved with that first one are still alive and working. So it's like, what's the point of even if those ones did a good enough job of doing it the first time, why bother trying to get other people to do it when they're still alive? Now, having said all that, I've grown up in comic books where there's reboots and retellings of stories all the time, and I guess I'm more accustomed to it. I'm more forgiving of it. So since this is a comic book property, I guess I can be forgiving of the fact that they're trying to do a different version of the story.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, though, from what I can tell, all the Hellboy comics kind of have like the same style and flair, and there's only really been like one way to tell a Hellboy story.
Okay.
It's not like Batman or Superman where there's been very different versions over the years that you can pull from to tell your own story. There's really been like one Hellboy comic that's influenced the first 2 movies and now this new one.
Well, there's a lot of the characters in this Hellboy movie look like, I'm looking at the DVD, it looks like they had to wear a lot of makeup, right? So yeah, it seems like they could have just continued. Does it really, like, Ron Perlman did a good job, but couldn't they just make the new guy look like him?
In theory, yeah, they could have done that, but again, like, I guess maybe because the culture is so open to we've just kind of accepted, all right, it's only been 10 years.
The reboot culture?
Yeah, the reboot culture is so prominently like, okay, I guess we'll just do it again.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so this movie didn't have to get made, and I know you say, Nick, no movie has to be made, but in terms of interest level, I think anybody who would have been interested in a new Hellboy would have been interested in seeing a continuation of the story in the older movies.
Okay.
And not a brand new version. What do you think the critics are saying about this new movie? You probably don't know.
I don't know. I'm going to guess they're probably trashing it, taking it right to the curb.
So as a percentage of Rotten Tomatoes, what would you say?
Okay, 60? I don't know. Is that a good rating on Rotten Tomatoes? Is that bad?
It's a percentage out of 100.
But I mean, are the critics generally really harsh? Do they ever give high ratings?
Well, that's the thing. So like this tomato meter is an aggregate of all the reviews. So like everyone has their own rating system out of like 10 stars or 5 stars or 4 bat cookies.
Do you contribute to Rotten Tomatoes?
No, I'm not a verified. You have to get like verified to be like an official critic.
Get on that.
Well, maybe I will.
Yeah.
Right now, I contribute to the audience score.
Oh, I see.
On Rotten Tomatoes.
I can contribute to that too as well if I want, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyone who's in the audience can.
Interesting.
So right now, Hellboy is sitting at 15% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh boy. Hellboy, that's bad.
Yeah.
That's garbage. I was right. They took him right to the curb.
Yeah.
I guess too high was 60 though.
Yeah. So it's not looking good for this movie, and I think of all the comic book films that came out in 2018, Venom had the lowest score, and even that was like at 28%.
Man, 15%.
Yeah. So, and the audience score is at 65%.
Oh, that is horrendous.
So generally, people who saw it enjoyed it, or seemingly enjoyed it.
Well, more people enjoyed it than didn't enjoy it, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But that's really bad. The critics are generally harsh, or I've heard that the critic rating is generally different than the audience one, right? They generally disagree.
This is what he looks like in the new movie.
Oh, he's got a lot of... Is that chest hair?
Yeah.
Does Ron Perlman have chest hair?
In the movie, no. In real life?
He looks pretty much the same. What the heck's with his arm, though? What's going on there?
Oh, so he has a giant right hand. It's called the right hand of doom.
What does he do with it?
Well, in
whack people.
One version, yeah, he whacks people with it really hard. One version of the story, it's like opens a gateway to hell or something like that. Oh. It's like stuck on him as a child, like his father puts it there.
I think if I paid to see a Hellboy movie, I'd want to see him die and then see if he could go to heaven or if he had to go to hell. I think that's the most interesting thing.
I do know there's one comic book called Hellboy Goes to Hell.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure if it's because he dies or because he just goes there.
Oh, okay.
It's one of those
vacations there. Goes and visits his dad.
Probably not.
Not for Christmas.
So this one's not doing well with the critics. And after seeing the movie myself, I can certainly see why.
Okay, you take it right to the trash too, eh?
Well, we'll get into it, but how do you think it did box office wise? If it got 15% from critics and
I can't. I have a hard time. Like, the Avengers movies make what, millions on the
hundreds
of millions on the first opening weekend.
Yeah.
So what did they make? Like 10 million?
So Shazam came out last week and it made 53 million.
Okay. That's only tens of millions.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing Hellboy was what, like 10, 15, 20 million dollars?
It made 12 million.
Okay.
So it was estimated
bad.
Yeah, it was estimated to make between 17 and 20 million. So, and it didn't even finish in like first place this weekend. Shazam in its second weekend made more money than Hellboy did in its first weekend.
Well, I mean, that shouldn't be too surprising. Like, it's pretty distasteful. Like, it's a big red demon guy. How does that draw a new audience in?
Wow, you were really one to judge people by their appearances, aren't you?
Well, to be fair, this guy isn't real, so I can't hurt his feelings.
It got a C on Cinema Score.
A C. What? So what?
So that's
bad?
Cinema Score is a company that essentially exit-polls people as they're leaving the theater.
Okay.
And they ask them to give a letter grade to the movie.
Like A, B, C, and D.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or minus or plus or whatever. And then
okay.
they average that out to give the movie an official score.
So they gave it a C. Wow, so people were not happy.
No. The audience score on
See,
Rotten
that's what I
Tomatoes-
hate, Joe. I go to Average Joe. I go to the movie theater, and that's generally my exiting score for most movies is probably a C.
Wow, you have such high expectations.
Yeah. Anyways, go ahead.
I was just going to say that people could say that the audience score on Rotten Tomatoes can be fixed because people can sign in on many accounts and doctor
true.
it. So like the audience score for Captain Marvel, for example, was like in the 50s. And that's purely based on people going in many times. And
Okay, wait, I just want to stop you right here, Average Joseph.
Yes.
People have enough time in their lives to go make multiple accounts and sign into Rotten Tomatoes and rate the same movie multiple times.
Yes,
They're
some people.
that attached, that bought in.
Yes.
That seems like unhealthy.
Yeah, it is. It is unhealthy.
Borderline deranged, if not just completely deranged.
Yeah, it's sitting at 58% right now from audiences.
But so you don't actually know. There's no way to verify that people are doing that. That's just kind of...
No, but let me put this: there's like 80,000 people that have gone on to rate Captain Marvel, and I don't think that 80,000 generally by this point, like into its release, you don't have 80,000 people giving an audience score on Rotten Tomatoes.
What would the normal one be?
Well, like let's compare. So Shazam.
Okay, just a little message to everyone out there making multiple accounts going on Rotten Tomatoes. Get a life.
Shazam
Do
has
something with your life.
Shazam has 7,389 votes.
Okay.
So like a tenth of the ones for Captain Marvel.
Wow. Okay, yeah. So people were triggered hard by that movie.
Has been rated by 2,393 people.
Wow.
Now it speaks, of course, to like the audience of these movies. So like Captain Marvel, when it opened, made like $150 million.
That's true.
So a lot of more people saw it.
Yeah.
But it's definitely like a better movie than that audience score suggests. And they had issues with Captain Marvel on Rotten Tomatoes before it even came out because they had to like delete a feature they used to have because you used to be able to like give a percentage on like how much you wanted to see a movie.
Oh,
and that was being doctored for Captain Marvel to be lower than like to make it because people wanted to make it look bad.
I think I found my new pastime, creating 12 dozen Rotten Tomato accounts, just giving the Star Wars movies negative ratings.
So all that to say, Hellboy has not done very well. It's made $12 million this opening weekend. It's rated R, which the first ones were not.
Why? Violence?
Yes.
Oh, and swearing, right? You said?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So that certainly doesn't help. The second you make a movie R-rated, it means that the audience is going to be lesser.
Yep.
But there's movies like Logan and Deadpool that are R-rated comic book films
but still performed really well.
Yeah. So.
Okay. So why would someone choose to make an R-rated movie? Why not just cut some things out? I guess
the hope is
to make a better movie.
Yeah, the hope is that by including those elements, it'll improve the story or improve the experience, and that there's a certain audience looking for that kind of thing.
Well, it's true. I do watch some movies, and there's no swearing, and I'm thinking this is not realistic. They would be swearing in real life. Yeah. So yeah, I can appreciate that.
I went and saw this movie with Asian John, who you guys will remember used to be on the show all the time, and Beef Pork Ribs, who has been on the show before as well. And they had a lot to say about the movie, so I'm going to infuse a bit of their commentary into what we're saying.
Get
about
some
the movie
informed
itself.
opinions instead of my blabbering over here.
Yeah. So I'll try and I'm not very good at this because I always have somebody else do it, but I'm going to try and essentially give you a synopsis of the movie.
Okay.
So the movie's about Hellboy, and
the end is coming.
I hope I'm not late to the party!
The demon sleeps inside you. I will awaken it.
If there is ever an end in this war, it will be because of your strong right hand.
Yep, it smashes things real good.
Hellboy, rated R, April 12th.
When we enter into the movie, he's fully established. He's been working for the BRPD for many years. And it really it starts like initially he goes to England because he's been asked to help out with the Osiris Club, which is basically the British version of the BRPD. And one thing leads to another, and you find out that this person called the Blood Queen, who during Arthurian times was chopped up into several pieces, and her body was kind of like stored in different parts.
Okay.
She's coming back. Like someone is trying to reassemble her body, and she'll bring the plague with her if she comes back. So all the while, people around Hellboy are reminding him that there's a prophecy around his arrival on Earth and that he's going to bring the apocalypse.
Mm-hmm.
So as he's trying to stop the Blood Queen, he's also dealing with all these people around him who are questioning his virtue and questioning his presence in the world because
he ugly.
Not just because he's ugly, but because he's essentially a harbinger of the apocalypse, as they understand. And so it's about Hellboy trying to resolve all these different plot threads.
Okay. Good synopsis.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, I didn't see it, so I can't really tell you if it's good or not.
Well, so this movie is rated R for violence and swearing. The F word is in this movie, like, unnecessarily. Like, literally, in the first shot of the movie, you see a dead body kind of, like, hanging upside down, and then a crow comes by and, like, plucks an eyeball out, and you, like, see the whole process of it being plucked out. And it's a scene that's set during the Dark Ages, and it's emphasizing how horrible this plague is that this character, the Blood Queen, is kind of bringing about. And the narration emphasizes how the Dark Ages were a really rough time and goes as far as swearing and using the F word to describe the Dark Ages. And like that one scene perfectly encapsulates everything this movie's trying to be. It's trying to be dark and edgy and gritty. And I found it unnecessary. Some of the violence, it makes sense. Like, yeah, if he's fighting a giant, like a literal giant, yeah, he's going to have to kill it, and he's going to have to find creative ways to kill them. But it just gets unnecessary. Like, you see people get torn in half, and people's, like, kind of get sliced in ways that never seemed like they could actually happen. And
yeah, that's gross.
Baba Yaga's in this, and Baba Yaga's like a creature from folklore that's like a very deformed, deranged-looking woman. And
it's like a babushka. Or no, a babushka. What's that? A Russian grandma?
Babushkas. Those dolls that like fit inside each other. I think.
Whoops. Okay, but I know what you're talking about.
So
she's like one of those witches that travels alongside of the road and turns people into toads.
I don't mind a little bit of violence or a little bit of swearing in an R-rated movie, but this felt very unnecessary.
Okay,
like it was gory for the sake of being gory.
Yeah.
And I don't enjoy that kind of movie. And the worst, and even worse, is that a lot of it was CG and it didn't look good.
Oh, okay.
Like you could tell that is fake blood, that is fake guts, that is fake. Mm-hmm. It's just, it takes you out of the experience because you're like, this looks fake. It looks really bad. Like that blood does not look like it's there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know I don't like excessive gore either. It's totally unnecessary.
So you dodged a bullet by not seeing this movie.
Good. I'm not squeamish, but yeah.
One of Beef Pork Ribs' comments about the movie said it felt like 4 episodes of a TV series kind of stuck together.
Okay.
And what he meant by that is that the plot, it kind of like goes from set piece to set piece, and it doesn't feel very cohesive. It just feels like a bunch of TV episodes quite literally edited together. Mm-hmm. And it's like he goes here and does this thing, and then he goes here and does this thing. And apparently they drew influence from like 4 different Hellboy comics for the movie.
Oh.
And I can totally I can totally see how it's like different episodes kind of like stuck together. Does that sound appealing to you? A movie where you just keep constantly moving around from one location to another?
No.
There you go. So you'd agree with Beef Pork Ribs on that?
Yeah,
one.
good job, Beef Pork Ribs. Never met you, but you sound like a stand-up guy. So.
And the editing felt very juvenile, like a lot of jump cuts.
Juvenile. That's low.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like it was pretty bad, and like even some of the jokes, it's like they cut away too fast, or like the dialogue came out too quick, and I was like, what?
Yeah. So just a garbage movie all around.
Well, like David Harbour, who is the actor who plays Hellboy, he does a good job as Hellboy. Like he's not Ron Perlman, who for a lot of people embody the character, but I was able to like see him in the role, and I was really getting a sense of the things he was feeling and the frustrations he was experiencing. So I felt he did a good job. And a couple of the other performances are strong as well. But you just couldn't help but wonder, like, all these kind of practical elements are really weighing all of this down. And yeah, I mentioned the visual effects already, but in general, the CGI looks pretty bad. And I don't know, for me, I guess maybe because I have an eye for it, but generally, if I see bad effects in a movie, and it's especially if it's like a character that you're supposed to be looking at, it just takes me out of the experience, and I'm like, all of a sudden, it's like I'm actually seeing myself sitting in the theater, and like, what am I looking at right now? Does that happen for you at all?
No, I don't think so.
So do bad effects bother you?
Oh yeah, but taking you out of the theater, like, oh, you mean when they're good?
No, when they're bad. So if a movie's good and the effects are good, I'm like sucked into the story and I forget that I'm in a theater watching it.
Oh, okay. No, I rarely have an experience like that. But yeah, bad effects are annoying. It's like, why are you wasting my money? Yeah. I
mentioned earlier with the Hellboy character, what makes him interesting is that he does explore the whole nature versus nurture conflict a lot, because as people even like you making commentary on what he looks like, there is a lot of that in the movie. People making judgments about him or coming to conclusions about him before even really knowing him, just because of what he looks like. And you see the frustrations, and then he's getting offers from the bad guys saying like, "Come work with us. Like, these people don't appreciate you and they hate you." And it kind of like reminded me of like the older X-Men movies where they established that whole theme of like, we fight to protect the people who hate you.
Yeah.
And in this case, it's like almost like, yeah, Hellboy, like screw all these people that you're trying to help. Like, just join the bad guys.
But I mean, in this situation, yeah, you shouldn't be prejudiced and you shouldn't judge people on face value. But this guy is a demon, so it's understandable. He looks like a demon. If you see a demon, it's understandable, like, for you to think that's evil, because demons by nature are evil. Obviously, he's like half human, or whatever.
And his nurture is his.
Yeah, but. If you had a glimpse into hell and you saw the demons, you wouldn't be like, oh, I wonder if any of these are good. No, they're bad, right? So it's totally understandable.
Anyway, I really felt for him in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was like you have your decision to continue fighting for the good.
Yeah.
Is totally selfless, because you're not receiving anything back in terms of affirmation or consolation or positive reinforcement. Everyone's like, his adoptive father in the movie is much less of a kind person than he was in the original movies. And that one, he's a very like nurturing grandfatherly, like, oh, like, you're such a good person. And this, he's like, are you done whining? Like, he's very much more like direct and to the point. It's like, get over yourself. Like, I was annoyed.
Okay. Huh.
I felt for Hellboy.
All right, that's interesting. Yeah, your heartstrings are easy to pull on, though.
So I'll say we're going to talk some spoilers here. You probably don't. I don't recommend seeing this movie, especially in a world where the first two Hellboys exist.
Yeah.
There was a part of me that when I was watching, I asked myself, would this story that they're presenting here would have worked better if they had continued on with the actors and the director from the previous movie? And I'm not sure. I don't think it would have worked. Because even if you had all the old pieces in place, the story is just too convoluted, and there's too much going on too.
Were you excited to see this movie?
Kind of. Like, when they first announced they were doing another Hellboy, I was like, oh, okay, sure. And the trailer looked interesting enough. Like, I'm like, okay, it looks different enough in tone that I should be able to enjoy it. And I don't regret seeing it, because at least now I can say I've seen it, and I can say for certain that the older films are better. But
okay,
I don't recommend this one.
Yeah.
So we're gonna spoil this thing. We're going into the spoiler-verse.
Oh boy, here we go.
So I mentioned this British spy agency, the Osiris Club.
Okay.
Early on in the movie, he's brought over to England to help them hunt down some, not goblins, giants.
Okay.
And very quickly, you find out that he's been tricked and that they're trying to kill him. Because they want to get rid of him, because they don't want the apocalypse to come to pass. So
legit, yep.
So he's betrayed and hunted down for no good reason other than what he looks like, and judging him based on where he comes from.
Well, shave that chest hair, and maybe people won't think he's so ugly.
Anyway, it seemed kind of random, because they're there for that one scene in the beginning, and then later on they're all killed off screen, and you go back to their house and you find out they've been killed by somebody else.
Oh, okay.
So in terms of
giants you're talking are killed, you mean?
No, like the British spy.
Agency. Oh, okay, yeah.
So they're in the one scene where they basically like introduce Hellboy to their organization. They're like, okay, let's go hunt some giants, and then once they get out into the woods, it's like, surprise, we're gonna try and kill you. And then you don't see them again.
Classic ambush.
And then later you see all their corpses because they're killed off by another villain.
Oh, convenient.
It's just kind of like, okay, we're clearly pointless. Just to remind us of how people don't like this guy. There's a pig monster in the movie who has a reason for hating Hellboy, and it's not a very convincing reason for hating Hellboy. And then he's like working for the main villain, the Blood Queen. Like he's the one bringing her body parts back together, and he's like, "You'll do this thing for me when you get all your powers back, right?"
Yeah.
And then she says, "Oh yes, I will." And then, of course, it doesn't. He gets double crossed, and it's like, "What were you thinking? What's going to happen?"
Yeah, kind of a classic cliche.
It was very predictable.
Yeah. What pig monster? Like, what does he look like?
Imagine like a minotaur, but with a pig face.
Oh, interesting.
So it's like humanoid, but with a pig
Yep.
head.
Yep.
And he swears a bunch too. It was so distracting. I was like,
does he kind of squeal when he speaks?
You know, are you kind of like that kind of thing?
Okay. Man, I'm not a fan of pigs.
Yeah. The one Easter egg I did recognize, they in the universe of Hellboy, there's like this crime fighter called the Lobster.
Mm-hmm. And
so he shows up in the flashback. And then in a post-credit scene that I didn't watch because I left the theater as soon as it was over, Hellboy meets up with this lobster guy. And it was like apparently that's supposed to be a fun like Easter egg of the comics. But guess what? I didn't stick around for the post-credit scene.
Well, you also haven't read the comics.
True, but I knew that of the comics.
Okay.
Because I've watched YouTube videos.
Okay.
They have a cameo at the very end of the movie from one of the main characters from the first Hellboy movies. You find him in a fish tank. But you only see his hand. You don't actually see him in there. So that's supposed to be like another kind of sequel baity thing. But it's like, this ain't getting no sequels. So it's kind of wasted.
Thank the Lord.
And the Blood Queen herself, she just kind of felt like your typical, sorceress witch villain who has her body cut up and then put back together. And yeah, I don't even want to keep talking about this.
Well, don't then.
Okay. So back with the rating. Coming around to final thoughts, this Hellboy movie is disappointing. It just reminds us of how the other movies are better, and it's got too much going on, and its editing is juvenile, its language and violence are unnecessary. So I think I'm going to give this a 2 out of 4 back cookies.
Whoa. I think that's the lowest I've ever heard. I definitely haven't listened to most of your episodes, but I think that's the lowest I've ever heard.
Yeah, so that 2 is mostly based on David Harbour's performance because I think he does a good job in the movie.
All right. Well, I'm going to give it a rating 2, even though I haven't seen it.
All you've seen is the one
But
photo.
purely based off, what did you say the actor's name is?
David Harbour.
Based off David Harbour's chest hair, I'm giving it a 3.5 out of 4 bat jar cookies.
Now you realize that means that when we do our comic book movie review, your grading will be accounted towards the score of this movie. Do you really want to give it such a high score?
Oh, you take all these numbers?
Yeah.
In that case, it's going up to 3.8.
Okay, well, there you go. I think that is like the lowest grade I've ever given a newly released movie. I'm glad I saw it for free. I used movie points to pay for my ticket.
Is that the worst movie you've seen in theaters in a long time?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah, like it's the second time this year that I've left disappointed from a movie theater.
Okay.
The first being after Glass. But there's, at least with Glass, there's like technical achievements I can give the movie. Like this is just amateur hour.
Yeah. Last movie I remember seeing in theaters that I really, really hated was The Last Night for the Transformers movie.
Oh, Transformers The Last Night. Yeah, that's about it.
What utter trash. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thoroughly disappointed. Anyways, that has nothing to do with this episode. So.
Yeah. Anyway, Hellboy's now in theaters, but you guys don't need to know about that. It's not worth it. Just take our word for it.
Yeah.
Like, do I sound excited about this? The answer is no. I'm not. So, having said that, it's time to go into our bat jar and look at our mail.
Okay, do I just reach in and pick something out?
No, we got to read our mail.
Oh, okay.
We got a Facebook message this week.
We got a Facebook message from some goofball named Paul Rouleau on Facebook. Yeah. No profile picture. So this guy might be a little sketchy. But anyways, it says, "Hi, Average Joe and Pixel Patch. What do you guys think of Jeremy Renner's new haircut in Avengers Endgame? Personally, I think it looks ridiculous, and I'm not sure how I'm supposed to watch the movie without laughing hysterically every time he comes on the screen." Wow, insightful. Great question. That's Paul Rouleau? An incredible question. Yeah, I don't know. I can't help you. That haircut is just horrendous.
You don't like it either?
Yeah, every time I see the trailer, I just start laughing hysterically.
Yeah, so when they first showed like publicity shots from Avengers 4, I saw he had like the fade haircut.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, that's a popular haircut right now, whatever. Looks fine. But then one of the trailers shows him from the back, and it seems as though
it's so funny.
He kept like a mohawk of sorts, where like, it's like he kept because like the whole idea of the fade is that the hair on the top of your head is long, and then your sides are super short. But the idea is that the fade goes all the way around your head too, so it's like only the hair on like the crown of your head is still there. But it seems that Jeremy Renner's haircut in the trailer shows that it literally his hair continues down towards his neck, suggesting that he has like this really like long 80s style mohawk thing going on.
Yeah, it's greasy.
From the front it looks fine, but then like when you see it from the side or the back it does look ridiculous. And then other shots and stuff have confirmed he has like tattoos on his arm now.
Okay.
And then adding to that, the trailers show shots of him like doing archery with his daughter with a full head of hair, which would imply that, you know, at some point in the past he still had a regular Jeremy Renner haircut, and then at some point decided to get this really weird one.
He looks like he's going through that rebellious stage. I'm guessing it's because his family died or something, so he got tatted up and got a new haircut.
Yeah,
probably started chewing tobacco and smoking cigarettes.
Yeah, it seems like this seems like an extreme reaction to. I mean, oh, my family's dead. Let me get a really dumb haircut. What I'm hoping is the case, and this
Try to
is
be sympathetic, average Joe.
A podcast.
Man just lost his family.
A podcast I listened to called The Weekly Planet hypothesized that the reason why he has this haircut and the tattoos is because since his family died, he's been working undercover in a criminal ring in like Japan. Mm-hmm. And so to blend in with the crowd there, he's gotten tatted up and gotten a wacky haircut. Mm-hmm. So I would certainly hope that's the case. And hopefully by the end of the movie, he's gotten a haircut. And hopefully at least one of the characters in the movie makes a reference to how bad his haircut is.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope he gets chirped and dissed a lot. Yeah, I hope so. But great question. We need more questions like this. That's such a good question.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Paul.
Yes, thank you, Paul. And if you want to contact the show like Paul, we can tell you how to do that.
If you want to contact the show with a question or an idea for an episode, you can send us an email at
batjarpodcast@gmail.com.
Or you can tweet at us at
the Bat Cookie Jar.
We are available on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Music, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, SoundCloud, or wherever you can get your podcasts.
Including YouTube.
Share our post on Facebook and make sure to like our page because we want everyone to join us inside the Bat Jar.
Yep, that's right.
It's really cozy inside this Bat Jar.
Yeah, it's like you can hear all the porcelain.
Yeah.
So we're not going to go into the Bat Jar to choose a topic because you can put that back in there though. Because next week is the week before Avengers Endgame, so we're actually going to spend the whole episode next week discussing fan theories and speculations about who we think is going to survive, who's going to die.
Oh boy.
Really get ourselves ready for Endgame. So, I mean, I've tried to spend less time speculating about who's going to live and die than I did for Infinity War because part of me was disappointed when all my theories didn't come true.
And I hope all the people who died in Infinity War come back to life and everyone who survived Infinity War dies.
Wow, so like just a complete reversal?
Yeah.
Okay, that could happen. I mean, nothing's impossible. But, yeah, so if you're excited for Avengers Endgame, you should listen to our episode next week because we're going to basically discuss everything we know about the movie and what might potentially happen. I mean, we might potentially spoil the movie if we actually guess everything right. So there's some warning in advance.
If we can guess it, though, anyone can. Or I shouldn't say we, but if you can guess it.
Fair enough. So thank you, Minty Python, for joining us this week.
You're very welcome, Average Joseph. It was my pleasure.
I'm sure you've gotten quite the education and a lot of random stuff.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure.
So come back to the Batchar podcast next week when we talk about Avengers Endgame speculation and fan theories. And until next time, I'm Average Joe.
And I'm Minty Python.
Catch you on the flip side.
Ciao. Buenos dias.